Georgy Konstantinovich Zhukov stands as one of the most important military leaders of the 20th century and a central figure in the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany during World War II. Known for his strategic brilliance, resilience under pressure, and iron determination, Zhukov led the Red Army through some of the most pivotal battles of the war, earning a reputation as the general who defeated Hitler. Early life and rise to power. Born on December 1, 1896, in the small village of Strelkovka, Russia, Zhukov came from a humble peasant background. He joined the Imperial Russian Army during World War I and later the Red Army after the Bolshevik Revolution. Over the following decades, he rose through the ranks due to his discipline, military competence, and ability to command respect from his troops. Zhukov first gained national recognition in 1939 during the Battle of Kokhin-Gol against Japanese forces on the Soviet-Mongolian border. There, he orchestrated a successful encirclement of the enemy, demonstrating tactical skill and an understanding of modern mechanized warfare, qualities that would define his wartime leadership. The crucible of World War II. When Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, the Red Army was initially overwhelmed. Stalin appointed Zhukov as chief of the general staff, and later assigned him to command critical fronts throughout the war. Zhukov's career would become closely tied to several major turning points in the conflict. Battle of Moscow, 1941–1942. As German forces approached the Soviet capital, Zhukov was entrusted with its defense. Under his leadership, the Red Army mounted a fierce counteroffensive in the winter of 1941, driving back the Wehrmacht and marking Hitler's first significant defeat in the war. Battle of Stalingrad, 1942–1943. Although not the on-site commander, Zhukov was instrumental in planning Operation Uranus, the strategic counteroffensive that led to the encirclement of German forces in Stalingrad. This battle became a symbol of Soviet tenacity and marked the beginning of the German army's long retreat. Battle of Kursk, 1943. In the summer of 1943, Zhukov played a key role in preparing Soviet defenses for the German assault at Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. His anticipation of German movements allowed the Red Army to absorb the attack and launch a decisive counterstrike, further shifting the balance of power on the Eastern Front. The final push to Berlin. Perhaps Zhukov's most famous achievement was leading the Red Army's assault on Berlin in 1945. As commander of the First Belarusian Front, he spearheaded the brutal Battle of Berlin, a culmination of years of fighting across the Soviet-German front. On May 2, 1945, Berlin fell, and days later, Germany unconditionally surrendered. Zhukov was chosen to accept the German surrender in Berlin on May 8, 1945, representing the Soviet Union in the historic ceremony. This moment solidified his image not only as a Soviet hero but also as one of the architects of Hitler's defeat. Post-war career and conflicts with Stalin. Despite his military successes, Zhukov's growing popularity made Stalin wary. After the war, Stalin demoted Zhukov and reassigned him to less influential positions. It wasn't until after Stalin's death in 1953 that Zhukov briefly regained political influence, serving as Minister of Defense under Nikita Khrushchev. However, his political career remained turbulent, and he was eventually sidelined again in 1957. Legacy. Georgy Zhukov remains a towering figure in Russian and military history. His combination of strategic foresight, toughness, and ability to motivate troops under the harshest conditions helped turn the tide of the deadliest conflict in human history. His legacy is complex. Both celebrated as a war hero and scrutinized for his role in brutal wartime decisions. Yet few can dispute that Zhukov was indispensable to the Soviet victory in World War II. Without his leadership, the war on the Eastern Front, and perhaps the entire outcome of the conflict, might have unfolded very differently. Georgy Zhukov was more than a brilliant tactician. He was the embodiment of Soviet resistance and resurgence during World War II. His leadership in the defense of Moscow, the planning of Stalingrad, the victory at Kursk, and the fall of Berlin earned him a unique place in history. In defeating Hitler, Zhukov not only secured his nation's survival but also reshaped the world order for generations to come.